Good morning, members, and welcome to the Cabinet of Wednesday, 27th of October. This meeting will be recorded and made available to view on the Council's website, as you're all aware. And also, if I can remind Cabinet members to keep their cameras on and everyone else to mute. So welcome everyone to the meeting. Just to note, before I take and receive apologies, just want to note that item 8 on the report has been removed. So that item is no longer on the agenda. To receive apologies, I note some of these are already in the chat, so thank you very much. I'll go to declarations of interest. Councillors and officers are reminded of their personal responsibility to declare any personal and/or prejudicial interest in respect of any item of business on the agenda in accordance with the Local Government Act 2000, the Council's Constitution and the Code of Conduct for both councillors and officers. Has anyone got anything to declare? That's no. Thank you very much, members. Thank you. So we'll go to move and approve and sign the minutes of the Cabinet held on 13th of October. I will go through those for accuracy then, page by page, everyone. Page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, and page 6. Do I have a mover for those?
Move.
Thank you very much. Seconder?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. If I can have a show of hands then, please, to accept those. Thank you, everyone. Thanks very much. Okay, moving to item agenda number 4, and that is it's a standing item, as you all know, the Cabinet Forward Work Programme. And can we just note that? Is everyone happy to endorse that and note that? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Moving to item number 5. And if I can ask Councillor Stenner to come in, please.
Thank you, Leader. The purpose of this report before us this morning is to present Cabinet with a corporate performance assessment, which is part of the Council's new performance framework following the presentation of the Directorate Performance Assessments to Scrutiny Committees. The Corporate Performance Assessment provides a summary of information and analysis for the 6-month period October 2020 to March 2021. The Corporate Performance Assessment forms part of the Council's self-assessment activity. As the Council embarked on its ambitious transformation programme, Team Caerphilly, alongside the emergence of new legislation such as the Local Government and Elections Bill 2019, the Council took the opportunity to redevelop and enhance the performance framework. The Corporate Performance Assessment is a self-assessment of the authority's progress across a wide range of information types. Beneath the Corporate Performance Assessments are the Directorate Performance Assessments, which provide detailed sources of information for each Directorate. You will see in paragraph 5.7 of the report that the Directorate Performance Assessments have been presented to scrutiny. The recommendation is shown at 3.1. I move.
Thank you ever so much, Councillor Stenner. If I could go to Councillor Whiting now, please.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. I don't have anything to add to it, aside from with the Director of Performance Assessments, it was so good to see scrutiny all getting involved in going through it, because I think that is such a key part of what we do, making sure that, you know, all councillors who are on scrutiny are able to take part in this, which has been really good to see. But other than that, I'm happy to move this.
Thank you ever so much, Councillor Whiting. Okay, are there any officers that would like to add any further following Councillor Stenner's introduction into the report? Okay, Ed, would you like to come in?
Yeah, thanks, Leader. Thanks, members. Just to remind you, really, that this is the new performance framework that was brought in just prior to the pandemic in official terms. That the 12 months that is under review within this particular document is the 12 months through which we were initially locked down and the pandemic kind of got a grip. I think you can't look at the performance in these documents without referring to the fact that we were delivering this stuff against a really difficult backdrop of a global pandemic. And I think it's just worth qualifying that before I know members will have some questions. I tend to see this as a pretty incredible set of things that we have done in spite of those circumstances. So again, not wishing to kind of provide some context to those questions, but I think it's really a case of what has been achieved in spite of the difficulties rather than what hasn't. Thanks, Leader.
Yeah, thank you ever so much, Ed. Really helpful, you know, just to illustrate the position we found ourselves in over the last 19 months. So thank you for that. Councillor Cook, if you'd like to come in, please.
Yeah, thanks, Leader. I'm promising my connection. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, not a question, but a statement. In relation to the report, I want to praise social services staff for completing child assessments within time at 98%, and also the good work carried out to reduce the number of children in care who had to move 3 or more times, as the more moves these children experience and the more disruptive this can be in the longer term. And again, all this in the background of a pandemic. So I just want to thank social services staff. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you ever so much, Councillor Cook. Councillor Stenner, please.
Yeah, just to come in and say, I think, you know, it was remiss of me not to thank all the staff that has input the information into this report, because as you can see, it's a massive amount of information that's held in this report. Pleasing to see that the Team Caerphilly action plans have all commenced in, you know, very challenging times. I have one question, and it's on the budget monitoring report. It's showing there that we had significant underspends in some areas. I wonder if an officer could confirm that these underspends, you know, they're actually linked to the pandemic, such as, you know, I know that there was an increase in Welsh Government grants that were received very late in the financial year. So I wonder if I could have an officer to comment on that, please.
Okay, Steve appeared on the screen there, so I presume Steve's going to come in on that. Thank you.
Yeah, happy to respond to that. Yes, the 38.5 million underspend is significantly higher than in previous years, and I can confirm it is due to changes in working practices linked to COVID-19, and also the significant one-off financial support provided by the Welsh Government, much of which wasn't received until the latter part of the financial year. If I can just remind members as well that 10.07 million of the underspend relates to schools, meaning that school balances have increased from 1.3 million as at the 31st of March 2020 to 11.3 million as at the 31st of March 2021. There's also an underspend of 10.018 million on the housing revenue account as a direct consequence of COVID-19, and this has been carried forward into the 2021-22 financial year to support the completion of the WHQS programme. Also, in relation to the wider underspends on general fund services, Cabinet will recall that the provisional outturn report presented to both Cabinet and Council in July included a number of proposals of one-off investments totaling £13.4 million to support the Council in the delivery of its strategic priorities in the transformation programme. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you ever so much, Steve, for that useful, you know, information there. Obviously, just to remind us of the position we found ourselves in financially. So thank you. Councillor Whiting.
Leader, I think Ed has got his hand up. I don't know if you wanted to add to that previous.
No, Leader, I put it up because I hadn't seen Steve's hand go up, but he's pretty much delivered everything that I would have, as you can imagine, with my financial expertise. So thanks, but I'm done.
Thank you. Financial expertise. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Councillor Whiting, did you have anything?
I do, yes. Just a quick question. I'd also, as others have said, you know, I'd like to thank all the staff that are behind all of this, because I think that it's the story of what they are doing, you know, more than anything. I think we need to keep that in mind. But my question is about the freedom of information requests, the compliance within a certain time frame numbers. Like, I understand that, you know, they will be there are difficulties on those due to COVID. So I just wondered if we could just have a little bit of more about the reasons for those being at the level that they are, and I guess what we're doing as well, or what we've done in since this report's data was, you know, collected, to ensure that's on a continued upward trajectory. Because I do notice from the numbers it is actually increasing back to where it should be. But I just wondered if we've got any further update on that.
Okay, is Ed good to come in on that? Yes, come in.
Yeah, I think it would probably be helpful, members, because we are talking about the previous financial year. If I circulate outside of the meeting the current position, it's kind of you, Ross, to have recognised the upward trajectory. It's not at the steepness that I would like at this stage, but it is showing signs of progress. The reason that we failed on those targets primarily comes down to staff being redeployed in the early stages of the pandemic to support critical services. And more latterly, the loss of a key member of that team, and then the kind of ensuing period of recruiting a replacement. So, you know, we're getting back to the stage where our staff complements are where they should be, and that should mean that the numbers, in terms of the performance, it does start to rise at a steeper level. But I'll get that confirmed for you outside of the meeting and circulate via email. Thanks.
Thank you ever so much, Ed. Are you content with that, Councillor Whiting? Yeah. Great. Okay. Well, thank you for that. And absolutely. And again, it is important to note, isn't it, the work of the staff to complete this. You know, it's no mean feat by any standard. So thank you, everyone, for that. If there's no further indications to come in and speak, can we go to the vote, please? Thank you. We'll just see how they come through. Is everyone able to vote? Yeah, no problems, no technical issues that you need to record it verbally. So it's just a bit slow on my system. Right, okay. I'll take that as unanimous. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the vote. Okay, moving to the next item on the agenda then, that's the Local Housing Strategy 2021 to 26. And if I can bring in Councillor Phipps, please.
Yep, thank you very much, Leader. Cabinet are being asked today for their views and approval of the Council's new Local Housing Strategy and Agenda for Change 2021 to 2025. In the summer of 2020, the Council appointed ARC4 Limited to assist us to produce a new local housing strategy. A robust methodology was agreed with ARC4 to complete the various stages of development, and a plan was put in place to manage the project. Consultation took place with key stakeholders, views of residents were sought, public consultation. This local housing strategy sets out our plans to build successful lives, create strong and resilient communities, invest in a local and vibrant economy, and promote healthy lives across the borough over the next 5 years. It provides a clear vision of how we can, through co-production with our residents and partners, achieve a shared aspiration in providing good quality housing and services in communities which are safe, sustainable and healthy. The vision not only focuses on the provision of new housing and the maintenance and improvement of existing homes, but also focuses on those services which support people to maintain independence to live in their homes for longer. The vision also focuses on the wider community, the environment, and maximising the community benefits that can be derived from the investment in housing that will take place over the period of the strategy. I move the recommendations set out at 4.1 and 4.2 of this report. But Leader, can I also take this opportunity to thank Jane? I know I did this in scrutiny last week, but still, it's worth mentioning again. So thanking the officers involved in this report, Jane Roberts-Waite and Mark Jennings, who were on this call, and also to ARC4 for all their efforts in putting this strategy together for us. Thank you.
Thank you ever so much, Councillor Phipps. If I can go to Councillor Whitcomb now, please.
Thank you, Leader. I'm more than happy to second this report. I think it's an exciting development and poses some significant developmental objectives for us over the next 5 years. And I also would like to thank the officers for compiling this report. I think it's a strategy that is ambitious and shows our determination to create better communities for our residents. Thank you, Leader. I so move.
Thank you ever so much, Councillor Whitcomb. And absolutely, before we open the debate and before we see if there's any further comments that any of the officers want to make, I think it's really important to note that this was a huge undertaking, this piece of work through ARC4. And I know myself and Councillor Phipps were interviewed for this as well and spoke at great detail about, you know, what our visions were for the authority in terms of housing and how we go forward. So it is great to see the culmination of that piece of work coming here today in this fantastic report. And again, I will put on record my thanks to Mark and Jane as well in regard to that. So thank you. So if I go to you, Jane, now, if you want to add anything further, and then we'll open it up to some questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Leader. Thank you, Councillor Phipps and Councillor Whitcomb as well. Good morning, members. There are some big ideas in this report, as Councillor Whitcomb's already alluded to, and you know, I just want to touch on some of those. One is very much about promoting the idea that Caerphilly is open for business and working perhaps in a different way than we have, particularly with local developers and the private sector. Introducing market sales to cross-subsidise the building of affordable homes is also very much within this document, together with the use of innovative funding mechanisms and the pooling of resources across the affordable home sector. Bringing empty homes back into use and working closely again with the private sector and also our colleagues in regeneration and planning, so that we have a truly collaborative or team Caerphilly approach across the affordable housing sector, and also working collaboratively to create better choices within affordable homes environments, in particular approving our later living or older persons offer, increasing the choices for those people who would like to access intermediate housing, and also those with complex needs, particularly in light of the rapid rehousing legislation that is going to be coming through shortly. As noted in the report, we're now in the process of pulling together a delivery plan to breathe life into this strategy, and that will be available next year. It'll come through the process accordingly, and then that will also be underpinned by an investment plan, because we're very keen to not only say what we're going to do and how we're going to do it, but also to identify how it's going to be funded, because I think that's very important, particularly at this point in time. So thank you, members. Please consider the report.
Thank you ever so much, Jane, for adding further to that. And I think it's a positive note, isn't it, that we had the Joint Scrutiny Committee last week around this very topic. And I think from a cross-party perspective, it went down really well, and everyone was really pleased to see the report. A change in direction, a very different outlook on the way we want to provide our housing going forward. So it was great to hear some of the comments from members on that scrutiny meeting. Just to be able to get an understanding on how people feel about it, because it's a very emotive subject, as we can all imagine. A house is a home, after all, and that's what we really want to, push forward on, because we know and understand how important that is, to people's well-being and their future potential. So it's really, really important that we capture that. Okay, I've got a number of hands. Jane, did you want to come in quickly in relation to what I've just said, and then I'll bring in Councillor Pritchard?
Only very quickly, it was remiss of me not to perhaps touch on some of the comments from scrutiny. The comments were very much, supportive of the strategy, and that people were pleased to see the strategy coming forward. There was some conversation about the costs of engaging ARC4, and those were clarified at the meeting. And also about the low number of consultation responses. Again, that was very much clarified at the meeting, as you will recall. We've very much tried our best on this one in terms of consultation. We had a 9-week public consultation period, and have used a variety of other techniques which we hadn't actually done before, in order to try and engage as many people as possible, and also to stimulate conversation, because you're absolutely right, Leader, a home is actually the most fundamental right that actually we have as human beings. So very, very important. There was a query on gypsy and traveller sites from Councillor Cuss. That was picked up and answered in relation to a planning query, and also query on the number of one-bedroom or one single person accommodation in the county borough. And again, I responded to that by saying that is, generally speaking, our greatest need within the county borough. So just a quick snapshot there, members, as to the conversation in scrutiny.
Yeah, thank you, Jane. Thank you. Very useful. Councillor Pritchard.
Yeah, thank you, Leader, and thank you, Jane. And having watched the scrutiny session, I think most of us did. It did come across that that scrutiny was very pleased. There was cross-party support, and that's always good. Just touching on the low rate, well, I think that can be a response. I think that can be explained away due to the fact that we are still in a pandemic, so face to face was very difficult. So I think that can explain away part of that. But just a comment, really. Within the appendix, it's saying about it trying to attract more people to the north of the borough. I think that's crucially important. And again, that has got cross-party support. And any LDP seminar that we're in, any time in which the LDP is discussed, members across the political spectrum in Caerphilly always raise this point, and I think that is very important. So I just wanted to add my support to that, and just a comment as well. But thanks, Jane, and thanks everybody, and thanks Councillor Phipps as well, for playing a key part in all this. It is a very pleasing document. Very pleased to see the scrutiny response, and thank you again, Jane, for everything that you've done.
Okay, Jane, your hand is up. Did you want to come back in? Oh no, okay. Is my system playing up or? Anyway, okay. Thank you, and thank you again. That I vividly remember the day that ARC4 interviewed us. And it was really insightful. In terms of what we could expect and what we could potentially do. So to see it culminated now in this report is fantastic. So there are no further hands up to come in to ask any questions. As you say, it did have a good airing in the Joint Scrutiny Committee, which many of the Cabinet members sat on and observed, so that's really helpful. Okay, so without further ado, we'll go to the vote. Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. And thank you ever so much, Jane, for your time today. Okay, if we can go to the next item on the agenda, which is to receive the Corporate Plan 2018-28 review and the annual performance report of 2020-21. If I can go to Councillor Stenner, please.
Thank you, Leader. Before I introduce the report, I would like to place on record my thanks to officers who have gathered the data included in this report in what again has been another, very challenging year. This report seeks Cabinet approval prior to its noting at full council, also to present to Cabinet the relevance and continuation of the wellbeing objectives of this fourth year of the 5-year corporate plan and approve the refresh updates to the corporate plan. The annual performance is a current statutory requirement under the Local Government Wales Measure 2009. This measure was repealed this year, however, as its performance requirement relates to the preceding financial year and an annual performance is required for 2020 to 21 year. The annual performance report assesses how we are progressing towards meeting our wellbeing objectives in the corporate plan. The corporate plan 2018 to 2023 has been updated and the wellbeing objectives refreshed to align with service and policy changes. The wellbeing objectives themselves remain unchanged. This report also demonstrates to Audit Wales how the Council has performed its statutory duties. The recommendations are shown at 3.1 and 3.2 of the report, and I move.
Thank you, Councillor Stenner. If I can go to Councillor Pritchard, please.
Yes, thanks, Leader. Can I formally second the report? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Are there any officers that would like to add anything further to the report before we open the debate? Sue, would you like to come in?
Just a minor point, Leader, just to say that the corporate plan is a refresh of the corporate plan. As members will know that Cabinet members' portfolio have changed. There's a couple of amendments. So the appendices attached clearly define all those amendments in the plan itself. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you for that, Sue. Absolutely. As you say, it was a refresh around those items. So thank you. Councillor Whiting.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. I have a question. It's about wellbeing objective 5. We noticed that progress has not been as expected, and I think the report's quite clear about why. It is unfortunate, but COVID is COVID. The pandemic created immense challenges for meeting that. So, looking to the future, I wondered what, if any, update we've got at the moment on, how we're going to be, bearing in mind the uncertainties that COVID still presents, because it's still very much with us. What we're going to be doing to ensure that we kind of catch up on that one as best as we can. And I wonder whether there are any external funding or resources that we can access to help us do that in the best possible way, because I'm sure that we're not the only ones, we're not the only local authority in this position. I'm sure every single one across not only Wales, but probably across the whole United Kingdom is as well. So I'd be interested to know what our plan is on that, so we can look forwards on that.
Thank you, Councillor Whiting. I can see Sue's hand is still up, and did you want to come back in on that?
Sorry, Leader, that was a legacy hand.
Okay, all right, okay. Who's going to respond to Ross's question? Ed, if you want to come in, Ed.
Actually, Leader, I'm not sure I'm the most appropriate director to respond on wellbeing objective 5. I don't know if Mark S is here, because this relates, doesn't it, largely to healthy lifestyles, leisure, etc. So I wonder if Mark's got a view.
Yeah, apologies, Ed. Yeah, that's Mark.
Yeah, thanks, Leader. I mean, obviously, one of the big impacts in terms of wellbeing objective 5 is the fact that, basically there was no sport for large parts of 2020. Leisure centres were closed for large parts of 2020. Lots of our outdoor facilities were closed. And we are working on plans around, getting people back active. In terms of funding, I don't think there's any external funding that will particularly make a difference. Obviously, as an authority, we are continually enhancing facilities. Whether they be 3G, the athletics track in Oakdale has opened. We are due to complete the revamp of the fitness suite in Newbridge Leisure Centre, which will, we'll have a grand opening of that. Hopefully, that should be finished by the end of November. So all of those things, will attract people back into a sort of exercise regime. It's about probably more about marketing our achievements and facilities rather than external funding.
Thank you ever so much, Mark, for that. And I suppose what we mustn't forget is that we're still, as already alluded to throughout the many reports that we've discussed already, that we're still very much in the grips of a pandemic. And I think that's about confidence levels, about, I would say that residents are a bit cautious, about attending certain facilities. So I would say that part of that is confidence around that as well, just to add. Ed, did you want to come in relation to any of that?
Yeah, having vacated the opportunity earlier on, there was a couple of thoughts that struck me while Mark was speaking. Cabinet will also be aware, of course, that there's 2 other developments that are nearing completion. The hockey hub at Soon-Oak, I think we're hoping to have that available in the next few weeks or so. At least the carpet and the surface should be concluded in that time. So that's a new facility effectively. And also the 3G up at Idris Davis will also be coming on stream shortly. So those are the 2 additions. But it also struck me that, the work we're doing with schools to try and maximise the community use of those assets is something that's really starting to get a bit of traction now. So absolutely take Mark's point about, inability to access some of these facilities through the pandemic. But those doors will be back open, and there'll be some new facilities being used in different ways over the coming months and years as well. Thanks, Leader.
And thank you for the reminder of those 2 projects that are currently, in train. So thank you for reminding us of that. And, as you say, the hockey hub is really exciting. So great to hear that that's nearing completion, shall we say. So thank you for that. I think I was going to go to Councillor Cook next.
Yeah, thanks, Leader. And looking over the performance report, I was very pleased to see that during the pandemic, the council supported over 2,000 council tenants to lessen the effects of welfare reform, and over 400 council tenants to secure additional welfare benefits. The council also helped over 550 residents through the Supporting People programme to reduce their combined debt by over 406,000, which is quite amazing. But I was just wondering what impact the ending of furlough and the increase in fuel prices will have on our residents, and therefore the support required to help residents.
Okay. Dave, did you want to come in on that, Dave Street?
Yeah, by all means, thank you, Leader. Thank you, Councillor Cook. I mean, it's too early to understand the detail of those changes. We know that overall they're bound to have a negative effect on a number of our constituents. We're working as part of the Caerphilly Cares initiative and with Sandra Isaacs in housing to do all we can to maximise benefits entitlement. And actually myself and Sue Richards were in a meeting with Sandra yesterday, and the numbers are quite eye-watering. Already we've brought around £1.5 million in additional funding and opportunities for that amount to go up and up. And to give you an example of the type of benefit that we're talking about and the type of difference that we're making, we were talking about one family yesterday, a lady who has a disabled son. And actually through the efforts of the staff involved in this area, we were able to increase their income by approximately £15,000 per year. So the opportunity to go out there and make a real difference to people's lives. And I know it's not just about money, but money is a huge part of what the challenges people face at the moment. They are huge. We are looking to shore up our resources in this area going forward, because we know there are still a significant number of people in the borough who don't claim all they're entitled to. So that has got to be a real focus for us moving forward.
No, that's great. Thank you ever so much. Councillor Stenner?
Yeah, thank you, Leader. Not so much of a question, but on reading the report under Wellbeing Objective to Enabling Employment, I note that there was a lower number of participants choosing to engage with employment programmes, and I would expect that yet again, you know, the reasoning behind this is again COVID-19. However, you know, there was still 256 participants supported into an employment in the pandemic. So, you know, that is a bit of good news. And it's also good to see positive outcomes for the 16 to 24 age group. So I was quite pleased to see that. Thank you.
Thank you ever so much, Councillor Stenner. Absolutely, it's really important that you did highlight that, because it's quite significant. My system is playing up a little bit. Sue, did you want to come in?
Thank you, Leader. Just to respond to what Councillor Stenner has said, as you know, I manage one of the some of the employment programmes. The team have been amazing, trying to adapt and find different ways of meeting participants. I think one of the other factors has been the changes in the DWP and their requirements during the pandemic. That has obviously reduced the number of referrals we've had as a team. We are actually now meeting participants in our libraries in appointments. So that's starting. Ed previously talked about trajectories. Ours is on the way up. So really good news there for the team. Can I just add to one thing Dave has said as well? As an authority, you'll notice through our social media channels, through our email links, through our partners, through the voluntary sector, we're very much pushing out the support the authority can offer, whether that's through the benefits maximisation, whether that's through Caerphilly Cares, whether that's through supporting people. We're trying to get the message out there that we're supporting our communities in very, very difficult times. So those messages are being pushed out regularly from our communication channels. Thank you, Leader.
Yeah, thank you, Sue. Absolutely they are. And I know I'm certainly retweeting and pushing out as well. So it's really important that we share that wide as we can. So thank you. Now, I've still got 2 hands up in the participants list, but on the screen they're not up. So can I ask a question? Councillor Cook, is your hand up? No. Okay. Ed, is your hand up?
Nope.
Right. Okay. Something really weird's going on here. There must be a ghost in the machine. That's all I'm saying. Yeah.
They were appearing to me as well, Leader. So it's not just probably your system.
Oh, right. Okay. Okay. Teams is playing up then. Yes, because Dave's just said that his are the same as well. Okay. So there are no further hands up then, according to the list. And so if we are able, can we go to the vote, please? And thank you, officers, for your contribution. Just wait for those to come through. Yeah, that's unanimous. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for those. Okay, we've reached the point in the agenda where obviously item 8 has already been removed, and that's because that's been resolved. So we're now going to go to item 9, and if I can bring in Councillor Gordon, please.
I'm not sure, Leader, if the monitoring officer should come in first, then I move it after.
Okay, Rob, then would like to come in. Thanks, Colin.
Yes, Leader. You will see on the agenda that I've put together a public interest test. The reason being that the next report contains details of the bid that the council wants to make for this plot of land that it's interested in purchasing. So my recommendation to you is that you now exclude the press and public. But that's just my recommendation. You as a cabinet need to vote to exclude the press and public. And if you do so, if you could just give us a couple of minutes then, so that any members of the press and public who are viewing this, well, it'll be the press, we can make sure that they've left the meeting. So that's my recommendation to you as the cabinet, that you now exclude the press and public on the basis that the report contains details of the bid that the council will make in respect of this piece of land. Thank you.
Thank you ever so much, Rob. Okay, Councillor Gordon.
Yeah, I'd like to move the recommendation by the monitoring officer on public interest, Leader.
Thank you. And Councillor Cook.
Yeah, thanks, Leader. I'd like to second, please.
Okay, then all. Do we do a forms list for this, Rob? Yeah, if we can have the forms up to make a vote, then please. Thank you. That's unanimous. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, everyone. Okay, so therefore we will accept the recommendation from the monitoring officer to go to accept the public interest test. Thank you.
Thanks, Leader. Can I just wait for a colleague to notify us that the member of the press has now left the meeting? Thank you.
Leader, I'm just going to close the recording of the meeting and then I'll notify you when it's safe to continue.
Thank you ever so much, Emma. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Em.